Do you want to know the number one reason why most Indiegogo campaigns fail? It's because they don't have a social media strategy going into their launch. And that's really the topic of today's video because it is so critical. If you want to make sure that not only do you launch on Indiegogo, but you also get attention and funding, you start to build a tribe of people who know who you are, who know your brand, and really are ready to become a backer of your Indiegogo campaign, you're going to want to listen to this video. If you're hoping to just be able to launch this campaign and to have people magically discover you on Indiegogo without any kind of social media prep, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's most likely not going to happen. I'm going to cover why in this video, but more importantly, I'm going to give you some tangible takeaways so you can go out there, you can crush it with your campaign. And make sure you stay around to the end of the video because I'm also going to share with you some killer resources for anyone out there who is getting started with crowdfunding. So let's tackle the big elephant in the room. And that's because I think most people think of Indiegogo as a platform where strangers can just really easily stumble upon your campaign and back you. Now, that does happen in very select cases. We've had people on my podcast, for example, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, where I publish a version every single week of individuals that are raising money, entrepreneurs and creative types. And in a rare occasion, that will happen where they haven't done any kind of social media prep or marketing or promotion. But more often than not, you have to prime the pump. You're not gonna be a magic bullet just launching on Indiegogo. You gotta make sure you're driving a little bit of your own traffic. You're doing a little bit of your own marketing. You're really getting your brand's name out there when it comes to social media so that people can check out your campaign. You can start trending in the charts, and Indiegogo's go-go factor algorithm will start to recommend your campaign. Now, I'll be honest, it didn't always work like this. Back in 2012, there were many campaigns that had no social media following, just kind of were virally shared on the internet, but those were really the exception, not the norm. Nowadays, you gotta make sure you go into that campaign with a social media marketing strategy. And the first tip that I have for you in this list is to make sure you pick the right platform. So I got in the industry in 2012, and there have been so many social media platforms from this time until then. For example, like Periscope and Snapchat and kind of all the Vine, right? All those like micro social media platforms. So nowadays, the question is, what should you be focused on if you want to launch this campaign with a bang? If you want to get funding, want to get your product out there, what are some of those social media channels that should be on your radar? When thinking about the vast array of social media platforms, you want to kind of cater them a little bit, or you want to segment them a little bit into organic and paid. So organic is when you're just posting, for example, a post on an Instagram profile or on Facebook, and people are naturally discovering that. Paid is when you actually put some paid advertising budget behind that post or behind that communication. At the time I'm recording this video, the organic social media platforms that are tending to work really well would be Instagram Reels as a specific format, TikTok, YouTube, and YouTube Shorts as well. When it comes to Facebook, utilizing Facebook groups and also stories. Stories are a great way not only on Instagram, but also other social media platforms for a large portion of your audience to see that update, which is a great way to engage them and also encourage them to directly message your campaign. When it comes to these social media platforms across the board, direct messaging is also a really powerful tool at your disposal. Now, there are other social media and social bookmarking platforms as well. For example, ones like Product Hunt and Reddit. That falls more though in the realm of social bookmarking websites, influencers, and PR. If you have more of like a business focused project or you're doing an equity crowdfunding campaign, LinkedIn, I would also add that to the list. Or if it's more about the company itself or you're raising funding at the same time, maybe from venture capitalists or angel investors, LinkedIn is definitely going to play a role when it comes to a social media platform, but it's not one that I'm going to list as a major platform when it comes to a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter launch. So all of these work that I just mentioned, but the real question is, what should you be focused on? Because you can go crazy like a dog chasing cars, right? Everything can kind of catch your attention. I want you to focus a little bit more on the type of formats which you can produce. So for example, if you can produce a short form video format or a long form video format, or you can produce, text very easily, or you're really good at replying to messages or posting social media posts, that's going to lend you to a specific type of platform. For example, if you create a reel, right, a short form video, you can post that on Instagram easily, on YouTube Shorts easily, and also on Facebook easily if you're using a social media tool. So at first, think about what is the format that you're going to be able to post when it comes to your specific skills and the resources that you have. But number two, I really would try to just focus on one, maybe two social media platforms. When you go beyond that, it's almost like your energy just kind of dissipates and you're just kind of doing a mediocre job on all of these platforms. Instead, you really want to concentrate your energy specifically for a launch for an Indiegogo campaign where you're trying to raise funds or launch a new product. You want to focus that energy on one or maybe two social media platforms when it comes to your organic pickup and making sure you're putting out posts. That advice gets even more concentrated when it comes to paid ads. And this is a very common question that I get all the time from my coaching students. Also people who write in who have maybe read my book and they want to go deeper when it comes to the paid ads element. Paid ads is definitely a powerful way to get people instantly on your campaign page and also to do other things like to broadcast your brand messages, to get people to back your campaign, etc. When it comes to paid ads, if you are a beginner, focus on one social media platform. If you know a little bit of what you're doing, I would extend that to two, but there's really just two major differences there. One is going to be a discovery-based advertising platform like Google, where people are, searching different key terms and they come across your product as a recommended one at the top of that search list, or display advertising as they're going across the internet, right? The other is more discovery-based. And discovery-based is based on their previous watch history. It's based on what they've clicked on in the past. And that's really more of like someone is not planning to, get an ad or not searching for anything necessarily, but then they're hit with an ad when it comes to Instagram or social media platforms like Facebook. Once you've kind of identified the social media platforms you're going to be focusing on, you want to think about your digital marketing strategy. I know it's a really big, fancy word, right? Digital marketing. I really don't like the word. I really just think about how are you going to get attention? How are you going to promote your project? How do you get people's eyeballs on what you're doing? And more importantly, to become a backer of your Indiegogo campaign. And you want to think about a couple of different phases. The first phase is going to be before you go live. The next phase, let's keep it really simple, when you are live with that Indiegogo campaign. And number three, after you're live and you're going into your post-crowdfunding phase, which might be Indiegogo in demand, or if you did really well, maybe you're going into the Indie Shop, which is a new feature on Indiegogo. So you want to think about and segment your social media strategy based on these three major phases. And in addition, when it comes to that, this is kind of like the marketing component, to think about what your CTA is. Now, CTA is just a fancy word that marketers use to sound smart. All it means is your call to action. What are you asking people to do? Is it, for example, to directly message you? Is it to follow you? Is it to click a link in your bio to go somewhere, right? To check out your Indiegogo campaign? You want to be very mindful of what your CTA is as you're posting the social media content, so that way you can make the most of your time, your energy, and your resources. So the CTA is a really in-depth topic, and it's one that not only varies based on the stage in which you're in for a campaign launch, but also it's going to vary as well based on the platform. So to give you an example, if you're posting in a social media group, the CTA might be different. For example, leave a comment on this post if, versus if you're posting an Instagram story, which maybe is shoot me a DM if, right? Or to get someone to click a link in your Instagram story. So you really want to put together a simple digital marketing strategy. And if that sounds like a headache, I have a great digital marketing strategy that I've completely outlined, which you can steal in my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, which has a whole chapter on Indiegogo as well. So that's really the paint by numbers formula that anyone can use in order to launch a campaign on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, can make sure you can get people following you ahead of time, and also for people to convert and to drive traffic to your campaign. So if you want to learn more about that, you can listen on the way to work, as you're cleaning your garage. Maybe your wife, is asking you to clean the dishes. You can listen to the audiobook at the same time, whatever it is. And you can also get, if you want, a paperback version of this book. You can also send me a photo of that, really cool, via Instagram. And I'd be happy to, repost that if you want when it comes to my Instagram stories. But I'll go down below and you can learn more about the Kickstarter launch formula. So we talked about channels, and we talked about the phase and also the CTA and how that really ties into the phase, but also the mediums. Another one I want to talk about is frequency, because this is such a common question that I get all the time from coaching students, which is like, Sal, how frequently should I be posting on social media? I don't want to overwhelm people, but I also don't want people to forget about me and my campaign and my launch of this cool new product, gadget, gizmo, board game, card game, comic book, whatever it is you're trying to go put out there to the world. You don't want people to forget about you. So this is also going to depend on where you are within your launch. For example, as you're getting closer to the launch, your communication frequency is going to increase. Specifically, if you're doing things like, you're making sure you're letting your followers know that this is going live in a day, right? And then make sure you set your calendar and we're going live in 15 minutes and creating that kind of anticipation and excitement. You almost want to have like a buildup when it comes to that. But we'll just say for like a standard period, typically if it's going to be a short form content, you can post more often. So short form content, I usually think in terms of video medium like YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikTok, but also short form content could extend to a platform like X, which is more text based. When we're thinking long form content, so like a longer video, a well thought out image post, we're kind of thinking a little bit less frequent. So maybe maximum, I would say around 3 times per week for more of a longer form post. If you're going short form, you could do even 1 to 2 per day. But again, it should be something that's novel, interesting, or unique. You don't want to just be posting all the time, hey, we're going to be coming out with a product. Hey, we're going to be coming out with a new campaign, right? You want to make sure it's interesting, varied, telling different stories, and there's actually a strategy behind the types of posts that you're putting out there. If you're new to the game, and I know that this is an area that I also struggle with, right, which is organization, you want to make sure you put together a very simple content calendar. You can use Google Sheets to do that. You can use iCal. You could use Trello or Notion or a sophisticated project management tool like Basecamp. There are many ways you can put together a content calendar, but I definitely would recommend having one just to keep yourself organized and just a little bit easier going into that campaign. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. Now, this is the point where I'll usually have someone be like, Sal, like I understand, but what the heck should I be posting? Just tell me what to post, man. Take the phone from me. I hate doing social media. I don't like social media either in my personal life because I think it's a huge waste of time. And it's always, I'm doom scrolling when I didn't mean to, and it's always getting my attention, right? So I don't really like social media in my personal, but I love it for my business because it's almost like you have a TV channel where you can broadcast this to the world, which is so freaking cool. So when it comes to the types of posts that you're putting out there, I'm just going to pretend that you have a new product that you're working on, a new design product. A couple of ideas would be, number one, a UGC post, like a user generated content post where someone is reviewing the product, or they're looking at it, or they're giving you feedback, or they're trying it out. Those are ones that always do really well on social media. Another would be a testimonial, or someone who says something nice. The story behind what it is that you're doing. Let's just say you have a new fashion item. You could show yourself sewing it or getting the initial prototypes ready. Or what does the paint look like if you're creating something new in terms of like an art piece? Or if you're writing a book, what do the initial manuscripts look like? Give people that like a behind the scenes sneak peek of your project, and they will love you for it, and they'll follow the story. That literally what it is. It's a story you are putting out there that they're following the creation of a new brand, and they're so excited to be a part and to really just be a fly on the wall as that story is unfolding. Another one, and I'll also include a killer resource down below, would be drawing people's attention to things such as specs when it comes to your actual product, the materials that it's made out of, the features, the functions, the problems, statistics around the user who's actually using this. The more you can just educate the consumer, the more they're going to value the solution that you've created to a specific problem. And if you want to learn more about that process when it comes to marketing a campaign on social media, but also beyond that, when it comes to other topics as well, like email marketing, putting together an effective campaign page, how do you drive interest and traffic to that page and create compelling reward tiers so people come there and they back it. You're going to want to go and check out my free course, which covers both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. The course link, if you want to check that out, would be at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. All you got to do is go to the link down below at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, enter your name and email, and you'll start getting some lessons from me, warming you up to how to smash your goal with a crowdfunding campaign, and more importantly, some of the tools, tactics, and techniques you can use in order to raise more funding at that link, crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, link in the description. So next on my list with this video for Indiegogo social media tactics and also the strategy behind a successful launch would be to incorporate other people into your social media campaign. So by that, I mean influencers or people that are reviewing your product, or even when you're live, doing a referral contest for people that drive traffic and get backers for your Indiegogo campaign. So this is a powerful way to not only have social proof going into your launch, which is basically this credibility and testimonials, but also to take advantage and to get in front of new audiences. So social media can be very powerful by going on podcasts, by also having news write-ups done about you and having them post on social media, by having influencers sing your praises, even being able to pay an influencer to do a video on YouTube or a video on their Instagram or on their TikTok or a story update. These are all great investments to get access to new audiences, so that way you can keep your funding meter going up and up. The next one I want to mention in this list, you really want to listen to if you kind of want to pour some gasoline on the fire. So if you want to make sure you don't fall flat, but also that you're wildly funded, I think this is a really great strategy to listen to for that reason. And I know this is going to be a little bit controversial because some people are like, Sal, I'm going to Indiegogo to get funding. But this is about something much larger than that. It's about having a bigger vision, right? And what if you could use this event to build a massive tribe of people that understand your brand, your product, and what you're doing, which can continue into years in the future of supporting your other projects, of getting involved when it comes to, supporting new campaigns that you're launching or new product lines even off of Indiegogo. This is really to the people I'm talking to when it comes to doing a bigger campaign. And by that, I mean incorporating paid advertising into your campaign launch. So you can very easily nowadays, anyone can run a paid advertising campaign or get help with doing that in order to launch a new project on Indiegogo, to build up an audience ahead of time, or when you're live to get more people backing it, because you can actually install a meta pixel on the Indiegogo campaign so you can optimize your campaign for sales and get new backers. You can actually see in the meta dashboard the number of people that are converting and also your ROAS, your ROAS, or your return on ad spend. So if you're putting in $1 and you're getting $5 out, for example, in terms of backer funding, it makes a lot of sense to continue that Indiegogo campaign. Social media is a tiny bit creepy nowadays, and you can even do things like run retargeting audiences. Or if you're working with someone who has a lookalike audience that can really optimize and go just for Indiegogo and Kickstarter backers, that's another great option. But I think more importantly, it's really just gonna allow you to see the metrics going into that campaign much more easily and get a clear sense of whether or not this has a return. So you can then plow even more into that advertising campaign or the PPC marketing campaign to be able to grow your backer numbers and to get more funding on Indiegogo. So I want to talk about one more tactic and also some things to avoid. But before we do, if you've been enjoying this video, take a second to give me a like. Come subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I would love for you to become a part of my community and leave a positive comment down below. But the next tip that I want to put out there is for some of those students that I've had that have really just obsessively focused on followers. And that's because there's a missing piece to that equation. And if you ignore this piece, you're gonna fall flat and you're gonna fall into a major pitfall. I love to play tennis when I was younger, and I also did a lot of other sports like fencing and baseball. And one of the common things across my sports was that I would always start out really well when it comes to swinging the racket at a ball, but I always needed to make sure I had the right follow through. And that was one of my early sticking points. And I think that many people have that same sticking point when it comes to marketing, which is they focus on getting lots of followers, but they don't think about engaging with those followers. So by engagement, what I mean is the number of people that not only followed you, but also are continuing to see your messages, to take action, to do the things that you say. That's a very powerful and important metric. And the way to do that with marketing your Indiegogo campaign on social media would be, number one, obviously replying to all direct messages that you get, being proactive and actually messaging people who maybe view your story or who like your post, doing simple things like putting out a poll to get people's thoughts on a color or a different variation when it comes to your product, hosting live Q&As. The more relationship building that you do with your audience, the better your launch is going to go, because those people then know who's behind the brand and they're more likely to have trust and credibility associated with that. And therefore, they're more likely to back your project. Let's get into some of the common social media mistakes when it comes to launching an Indiegogo campaign. And if you've been enjoying this video and you want to go a layer deeper, if you really want to have a trained eye assess your campaign to really point you in the right direction, but also the clear path to the promised land when it comes to raising funding on Indiegogo, what are some of the do's and do nots for your specific category, and really outlining a complete digital marketing strategy that you can use, you can take with you, and you can run, you definitely want to go and check out the individual one-on-one coaching call option at the link down below. You can literally go down below, you can click that link, and you can book an individual one-on-one coaching call with me. We can use that call not only to strategize, but also the tactics that go into your campaign, introduce you to new tools, new people in the industry, and for a select group, I might also help on an implementation or an execution basis, or with a longer-term coaching option. So if you really need some guidance going into your launch, you want to do it right and build a strong foundation going into your campaign, make sure you check out the link down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link will take you there. Fill out that form, tell me more about you, your inspiration, what you've been working on, what you've been dreaming of, and we can get that call scheduled ASAP. Go down below at that link, crowdcrux.com/coaching. Now, a recurring mistake that I see with many of my coaching students, I think this is one that we can all just be guilty of because we don't want to use social media or we want to take the time to learn how to use the individual platforms, is not responding to very simple comments and DMs and messages that are coming in from whatever social media platform it is. And I get it. Like, you know, we've already done the work of putting out the content, and like, we don't necessarily want to become social and engage with those backers. And it can kind of be a little bit scary because what if they say something negative? What if all of a sudden you have a public fiasco on your hands? But I will tell you, this is like a prime opportunity to communicate your brand to other people. So it's actually less about the person who's leaving the comments. It's more about the other people that then come and see, maybe watch that video or check out that post, and they see your interaction with that person. That's really where the brand is built. So make sure you reply to DMs, mentions, comments, all those kinds of things to really build engagement, but to also have a positive brand reception. The next one is spamming too much. And I have been guilty of this before in my life because I think I have the best, products in sliced bread or the best, message that everyone should hear. But this can be a great way for people to just tone you out over time, or tune you out rather. So you want to make sure that you kind of intersperse, and I talk about this with the content calendar, have a couple different types of post formats and objectives behind those posts and CTAs, right? So that way you're not just boring people and having one message that you're, using a megaphone to get out there. You're having a couple of different interesting messages that keep people entertained, interested, hanging on your every word, wanting to learn more about the story. You got to make sure you have a flavorful or a couple of different types of posts in the hopper. And the final one is not using or utilizing social media before you go live. And this is probably the most neglected element of going live with a crowdfunding campaign. Very similar to if you love going to the gym, skipping leg day. It's quite challenging to do leg day. You're always tired after doing leg day, but you gotta do it. Otherwise, you're gonna have a pretty funny looking body, right? You're not gonna have the results that you want to when you look in the mirror. So if you really wanna have a campaign that's going to blow past your goal, that's gonna trend on Indiegogo, hit that Go-Go Factor algorithm, and make sure you're able to actually make this and make an impact in the world, you got to make sure that you abide by some of these cardinal rules I've talked about in this video when it comes to social media. You can learn more about my individual one-on-one coaching call at the link down below where you can really get it all, and also you can go through your specific campaign. But if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, come subscribe for more content just like this, leave a positive comment down below. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I'll see you next time.